Alright, book nerds, on this episode, I'll be speaking with the writers and directors of the short film, If Anything Happens, I Love You. This is a beautifully animated film that really hits the heart, and everyone will love. It's not only a beautiful film, but also has a really powerful message, and I can't wait to learn more about this film from the guys that made it happen. So, let's get to it. Alright, book nerds, we're now speaking with the writer and directors of If Anything Happens, I Love You, Michael and Will. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to chat with you.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Well, would you please introduce yourselves and tell us a little about what you each did in the film and just what it's about?
Yeah, hi, I'm Michael Govier, and I'm the co-writer, co-director with Will McCormack here. And we created this film, and it's a short animated film, and it's about parents struggling with the loss of their daughter in a school shooting, and it's an elegy on grief.
I'm Will McCormack, co-writer, co-director of If Anything Happens, I Love You. And Michael, that feels like a good description of the film. That's what it's about.
So I watched the film and it was really beautiful. It was very touching. It told a great story, and I started out and I was like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen, and it definitely went in a direction I didn't expect. I kind of figured like partway through when the mother goes into the bedroom and stuff like that, I started figuring it out, and then as it progressed, it started clicking more and more. I'm curious to know what your decision was and the reason was for going in an animated direction instead of a live action direction.
Yeah, the material is very grave. It's a serious thing we're trying to dramatize. So Michael and I are big animation fans and have worked in animation before and love animation, although this is the first animated film we ever directed. So while we both love animation and love working in animation, the truth is I think that this story is best fit for animation because it's so intense that live action might sort of create a barrier that doesn't let the audience embrace it, whereas animation provides the sort of right type of gateway to give the audience the type of opportunity to experience this depth of emotion. So it felt like animation was the right way into the story, and for us, really the only way into this type of tale.
Anything to add to that, Michael, or do you think that summed it up pretty well?
I absolutely. Also, I think this tale needed to be told in this way. I absolutely agree. I think it's just too much. It's, can be too heavy if you were to actually see all these things live in a live action version. I think it might, even be potentially traumatizing. And so I think having it in this way, in this kind of artful gateway to create greater conversations about grief and loss.
So I want to talk a little bit about the animation style because it's not like super realistic animation, and it's more of it's still beautiful, but it's more like, maybe I don't know if this is the right words, but it's the only thing I can think of at this moment is it's kind of like more on the simpler side. But I love the style. I love the textures around the border, the edge of the frame, and on the center, on the clothes and everything. Can you talk a little bit about just the concept of how you chose to go in that direction, the texture and the just the general look?
Yes, we worked really hard on this with our animation director, Youngren No, and our whole philosophy was if it doesn't need to be in frame, it doesn't need to be there. So it's very simple, it's very minimalist. So, and as far as looking at the frame, things drop off on the edges. And we wanted the film to kind of look like grief. So it has this feeling of grief to it as far as being kind of monochromatic at the front end. Then when we go into memory, color kind of comes in, but it only comes in certain capacities because it's still filtered through the modern day time of grief. Like the parents are talking in the bedroom and this is still happening. And so it's those kind of things. But it was very intentional as far as the design and this simpler design, and to have a very minimalist approach to it. And we wanted to have a very unique look to it. We didn't want it to look like, kind of what everything else looks like right now. So it kind of, the animation fit the story. I guess that's the short answer. Like, we made the animation fit this story rather than saying, oh, this is what the animation needs to look like, and we didn't force it.
Yeah, we sort of had a cardinal rule, to echo Michael, that anything that didn't need to be in frame, we kept eliminating it and stripping it and stripping it. A, because we like the look of it, but B, we really wanted to capture the sort of like desolation and loneliness of grief and at this moment of time. And I also think it works really well when you go into the memories of the parents remembering what life was like with their daughter, because memory sort of works that way. When you remember where you were, you don't remember everything that was in the room when you were there, but you remember the spirit of that moment. And so I think isolating these moments and just putting a finer point in them and just getting down to the nuts and bolts of what we really actually want to express, so we can be really clear about what the audience wants to feel. We just wanted total simplicity. And we just kept stripping and stripping. And our animation director, Young Ran-No, I mean, she's really, really gifted. And we were in lockstep the moment we met her. So she was really just this, the greatest creative partner, because she was able to completely understand what we were going for the moment we met her.
That's awesome. No, it's really great when everything just kind of comes together and just clicks, and it just, it's like three people working together, but with one mind and one goal.
This project is essentially that. We had so many other people come and join us. We had Marianne Garger, who's our producer, who's kind of the guardian angel who kind of helped lead this wonderful path. And then Peter Ettinger, we had an editor who was amazing. He edited on Smallfoot and these other things. And all these other people, just fell in love with the project. And basically everyone kind of showed up and say, how can we help? And that was kind of this blessing that we had. And it was so wonderful to work with all these amazing artists.
That's fantastic. So as I was watching the film, I really loved the dynamic kind of between the characters that you see and almost, I guess, like the shadow characters that you kind of don't really see. And they kind of like the two worlds that they kind of interact with separately. I'm curious how that process came about. Like, how did you make that decision to kind of have the parents kind of, sad and like apart, yet these shadowy characters kind of like almost like a secondary side character, even though it's actually still them?
Well, the whole idea for this film, really, the kernel of this film was an idea that Michael had, which was, it was about these shadows, and that they would sort of be these reservoirs of feelings that the people couldn't quite reach because they were in that much pain. So the idea for this film really originated out of that visual idea. And then of course we kept bringing in story elements. But Michael pitched me that idea, gosh, a couple of years ago. And I just love the idea of these sort of shadow souls being these vehicles of feeling and emotion that people can't quite reach all throughout their lives, but especially in this moment because they're in a lot of pain. And that really gave the movie its wings, and that we started to build from that moment. But that idea of the shadows was the kernel of the idea for the entire film.
Okay, interesting.
And you just see, like, with these shadows, it's like you see this disconnect, like, there's, what's going on inside in all of us, what is going on deep down, and then there's what's going on out in that we present. And in this huge moment, you actually get this moment to see what their souls look like, what their inner emotional life looks like, and then see how it's completely disconnected from what they're experiencing. They're refusing to connect to it because it's just overwhelming. And I think the film has this, moment of hope and moment of like human resilience to show like how they're willing to connect to that and kind of go through the grief and to create a greater bond with themselves and the community. And I think it's just those things are shown as a visual representation of that kind of concept.
it's sort of Jungian, right? Like there's a shadow self.
Got that. Yeah, now that you think, yeah, it's got a little, yeah.
But I think no matter where we are, we all have these shadows of ourselves that we're trying to reach to become whole,
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And again, I absolutely loved the direction. I loved the style, loved everything about it. I'm curious if you could elaborate a little bit more, maybe for any viewers or listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with the animation side of filmmaking, because, we always see behind the scenes of movies, actors on set and giant cameras and green screens. And we see a lot of people know about that. And, there's huge crews of, hundreds of people. But when it comes to animation, you've got studios like Pixar and people sitting at the computer and stuff. But for this type of animation, can you tell us a little bit about the process of just making the film?
Absolutely. Yes, we have a very small little team, and we just built it in, my dining room table, Will's dining room table, and Marianne's dining room table. And we just would get together every week. We'd work on it, and to make it as lean, as efficient as we could, Will and I worked on the script for about a year, just to make sure we had everything we needed in all the story points, because we don't have enough money to, continue to animate and then throw that away and then animate, because it costs so much. So so every frame, every idea we had to use when we finalized it went up on that screen. And then as far as like the technical, aspects of it, the animators use TV Paint. I don't know if your listeners or viewers are familiar with that. It's an animation tool, and they all did that, and they'd use that, and then we'd edit in Adobe Premiere, and then it was just like piece by piece, frame by frame, just like you're painting, and it's hand drawn, so it's like every second is 24 frames, just 24 drawings, and so that's a lot of drawings. I forget our final count. I think it was something like maybe like 1,300 drawings, I think, somewhere around there.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of drawings.
So, live action filmmaking is so visceral, right? And it's so fun, and you have late night shoots and early mornings and craft service and long days, and you're exhausted, but there's sort of that's also exhilarating, and also tiring too.
Absolutely.
Animation is a different animal, but I felt like we also managed to make this a really communal film. I mean, we got together often and we walked through every moment, and Michael and I would act out moments, and we ate a lot of food and drank a lot of coffee. So we got together as much as possible, and it felt great. It's something that I miss because of coronavirus. I haven't been able to see my friends and our team. And so I look forward to one day when we can all get together. And I mean, Michael, we haven't even really, we had that one screening together, but we haven't even really watched the film as a group and had dinner, and I look forward to that day.
That's what's been so hard with this process. It's like basically our film came out in March, and a week later the world changed, and we then were supposed to have a huge wrap party and congratulate and have these things, the internal celebrations that we all live for, to say look how hard we worked and we accomplished this. And it's been challenging just to kind of be locked up and over these kind of things. But I truly think the process with animation compared to live action, like you guys are talking about, it's like live action is like, it's so action packed and so condensed, where this is like, we got to hang out for, a year, in 8 months working on this thing frame by frame to get 12 minutes. Where if this was a live action shoot, that's a weekend,
Yeah.
And that's that. So it's like, so in one cool way, we got to hang out with our friends for 8 months, which was kind of like, Will and I both came up through theater. And so it kind of had this other kind of feeling where it's like you're with someone much longer, like you had the rehearsal process, maybe even a development process, and then you have a long run. So it had this wonderful, long communal feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, as I was watching it, I noticed that the music was just phenomenal. The choice of music. I'm really curious to know, because the music really drives this entire film. Why, what drew you to the music choices that you chose? Because I know, the scene where the record player turns on and the song starts playing, and that's kind of like where, like, for me, it clicked. I'm like, oh, that's what happened. That kind of thing. What was the decision on that?
Well, the King, that's a King Princess song called 1950 when the needle drops on the record player. Honestly, that was maybe the first cue we used, right, Michael?
That was almost, it was like temp music, dream music for that
Yeah.
moment. And it had been in there the moment that was our first and only choice. And we were just hoping we could use it, and we were able to.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to get that song, which was a big get. I mean, we're just big fans of her music, and that song was we were really lucky. We dropped it in as temp, and we ended up getting it. And that song also just it's a reverie. It's melodic and beautiful, and it's got a little bit of a wistful quality too. But it felt like also the kind of song that the girl would be obsessed with and listen to thousands of times,
Mm-hmm.
and we both listened to that song thousands of times. The score in the film is so beautiful. It's by a composer we both admire named Lindsay Marcus. And again, it was like when we met Young Renaud, our animation director, we felt that same way when we met Lindsay. I mean, we got really lucky on this film. She completely understand the pathos of the film, and the moment she began to lay down compositions, we felt like we were in really, really good shape. So, and then of course, in the Beautiful Dreamers section where the stars go into the restaurant, that was done by the LA Children's Orchestra. So we were really lucky, and music was really important to us in this film because there is no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So it matters maybe more than in movies with dialogue. So it was
Absolutely
something that we talked a lot about, and we were lucky. We worked with really, really talented people.
Yeah, and Chuck Dickerson is the director of the Inner City Youth Orchestra, which was so wonderful, and that's who came in and composed that whole section. So it was, and all these people just kind of like showed up perfectly when they needed to. It was kind of like a very, they say, you need to make something, anything, you need a lot of luck. And we had luck. And it was like the moment where it's like, oh man, we need this orchestra. We need to work with people. Who can we find? And all of a sudden it just kind of appeared. And I've never been on a project like this, to be honest, where it's like things just showed up to kind of help us on our way. And so it was just quite a blessing.
No, that's fantastic. And again, it's great. Like you said, there's no dialogue in it. So yeah, the music choice and having the sound effects and everything just makes it that much more important. But I think you guys not only I think you guys hit it out of the park with it. So it was just really, really just fantastic. And I know you said it came out in March, correct?
Yes.
So how has the reception been? Again, I watched it. I felt a wide range of emotions, from sadness to happiness, and just all over the place. And I can't relate to what parents like that would go through, because I'm not a parent myself, but I wouldn't ever want to imagine what that feels like. But how has the reception been so far to it?
It's been very good, very positive, very cathartic, very inclusive as far as like these discussions on grief and people sharing their stories. And to your point, it's like, even if you haven't had this direct story with gun violence and this direct kind of loss, a lot of people are reflecting on the loss that they have had. A lot of us have lost loved ones, lost relatives, friends, and I think there's a lot of reflection with that grief, and you can kind of feel that in this film. But we did have a screening at UTA. That was our early screening in March, and it was Everytown. We invited the survivors from the Everytown Network and Moms Demand Action, and they had all lost loved ones to gun violence, and they loved the film. They really appreciated the film. They said the film made them feel seen and kind of heard in their story. And then they came up to both Will and I, and they were gracious in sharing their stories with us. And so that's something that's been so wonderful, is that these survivors are sharing their stories, so then their loved ones live on in us. And it's such a wonderful gift that they're giving, and we're so happy to be part of other people's stories and participate.
Absolutely. No, I think it's great that so many people can connect with through this film. And like you said, as I watched it, it kind of made me reminisce on, family members and pets and friends that I've had. I had a good friend in college who passed away, and I hadn't thought of him, in a while. And as I was watching it, he just popped up in my mind, and, I felt the emotions.
Mhm.
So I know you guys have this short film in HollyShorts now, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Awesome. Could you tell me a little bit about how that came to be and how the reception has been through HollyShorts and what your experiences with HollyShorts has been?
It's been great. They're a premiere festival. We were so excited. We submitted it to it early in the year. Unfortunately, this strange year, everything keeps getting moved out, and they were hoping to obviously have some kind of live component to it, which they were unfortunately not going to have this year. So everything's just been moved virtually online. And we've done some of these Q&As. If you're go watch us on HollyShorts, you'll see Will and I talking about this. And our film is this weekend, actually. I don't know when this is going to air, but our film is going to be screening this weekend on Saturday. And so far, everyone behind the scenes is very happy with the film and very excited about it, but it hasn't officially run yet in the festival. So we can't wait to kind of see what they all say.
Awesome. Where can our listeners or viewers potentially see it if they get a chance to see it at HollyShorts? Is it going to be in other festivals? Is it going to be online platforms in the future?
Yeah, actually, this is kind of really interesting. Netflix has decided this year to do short films, and our film was selected and will be on Netflix November 20th. So you can see the film on Netflix. So everyone can see it. So please go to Netflix November 20th. If you don't see it in HollyShorts, you got another shot to check it out.
That's awesome. Congratulations on getting your short film on Netflix. That's a big accomplishment.
It's pretty impressive, right? I mean, Will, what do you?
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, it's a huge moment for us because, making a tiny movie like this, you just hope to go to as many festivals as possible and meet as many people and reach as many people with the story, and to know that, we're going to be on Netflix soon and in over 200 million homes is almost psychedelic to think about. You're like, oh my God, like your brain could explode. But it is really, really, really awesome. And it's been an amazing journey. So fun to see it land in the world. It's been so rewarding to make this movie with, Michael and the whole team. It's just been one of the best filmmaking experiences of my whole life.
Awesome. Well, hopefully, you'll be able to, remember this moment and think back and be like, man, that just means the pressure's on for the next short film, right?
Yeah, truly. Yeah.
You guys have anything planned coming up soon after this short? Do you have another short in the works? Are you guys gonna be taking a break for a little bit? What's the game plan?
We're gonna try to make a feature. So we're talking about a couple different things. We're sort of volleying a couple things back and forth right now, but we hope to make a feature starting at the top of the year. And then with our company, Oh Good, which made If Anything Happens, I Love You, we want to continue to make animated short films that, have something to say.
Absolutely. Well, I wish you both the best of luck. Congratulations, not only on getting the film done, because I know how hard, getting a short film done in the first place is, but getting it into HollyShorts and other festivals and getting onto Netflix. I mean, that's a triple home run or slam or whatever sports metaphor you want to use, because I'm not very knowledgeable in sports.
It's a hat trick.
Exactly. But congratulations, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here at JeanBookNerd. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. We really appreciate your time, and thanks for some great questions.
Absolutely. And also, I know I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Thank you for making such a wonderful and beautiful short film.
Thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
This film is one I'll remember for a long time, and if anyone has the opportunity to see it, you definitely should. That's it for this episode, and I'll see you all for the next episode of the podcast. Take care, and any parting words for our listeners before we go, Michael or Will?
Hi, I'm Will McCormack, co-director and co-writer of the animated short film, If Anything Happens, I Love You.
Hi, I'm Michael Govier, co-writer, co-director of the short animated film, If Anything Happens, I Love You, and you're listening to JeanBookNerd.com.